Fantastic Four: First Steps isn't a bad movie, but considering the legacy and importance of Marvel's first family, it unfortunately falls short of what one would expect from such a pivotal property. While it does have moments of promise and polish, the overall experience feels like a missed opportunity that fails to tap into the emotional and narrative potential at its core. Let's start with the tone and structure. From the opening sequence, the film sets a solid foundation. In fact, the first 10 minutes may very well be the strongest portion of the entire movie. There's a sense of atmosphere, character, and momentum that teases an exciting and emotionally resonant origin story. Had the rest of the film sustained even a fraction of that rhythm, this could have easily been one of Marvel's most memorable outings. Unfortunately, First Steps gradually loses steam. One of the film's biggest issues is that, while it introduces an emotionally compelling premise, namely, the danger surrounding the child of Reed and Sue, it fails to explore this with the depth it deserves. The emotional weight of that scenario is left mostly unmined, appearing in brief glimmers but ultimately sidelined. Once the second half begins, the film becomes heavily focused on explaining the mechanics of the plan to stop Galactus, trading emotional resonance for plot exposition. This shift not only slows the pace but also drains the story of its initial energy and stakes. Character-wise, things are a mixed bag. Each of the core four, Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben, are portrayed faithfully to their comic book counterparts in terms of powers and personality traits, but they come across as one-dimensional, as if each was written to display only a single, defining characteristic. The writing doesn't allow them to grow or reveal different facets of themselves throughout the story. The exception here is Johnny Storm, who is given an additional layer of complexity that initially seems promising, a vulnerability not usually explored in previous portrayals. However, the way it's executed feels somewhat forced and inorganic, like an idea that made more sense on paper than on screen. From a relationship dynamic standpoint, the film never reaches the interpersonal richness seen in the 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four movies. For all their flaws, those earlier films managed to capture the sense of family, camaraderie, and tension among the characters. First Steps is far more restrained in this area, opting for functional interactions rather than emotionally charged or memorable ones. When it comes to action and humor, the movie is surprisingly lacking in both. While some may appreciate the more grounded and methodical approach, the absence of standout action sequences or clever levity makes it feel overly serious and, at times, flat. For a cosmic-level story involving Galactus, one would expect a few truly epic set pieces or at least some fun character moments. Sadly, they're scarce. Galactus, for his part, is handled well, visually striking, thematically fitting, and, for the most part, respectful to the source material. There are a few debatable creative decisions, avoiding spoilers, but nothing egregious. That said, while Galactus delivers what's expected, he doesn't surprise or elevate the film into something extraordinary. Silver Surfer, or more specifically Shallowball, the version featured here, suffers the most from undercooked writing. Her development feels rushed and unearned, and her emotional arc, if one can call it that, is delivered with a heavy hand. It's a shame, given how rich the Surfer mythos is, and how emotionally profound it can be when done right. On a more positive note, Fantastic Four: First Steps benefits from being self-contained. You don't need to have watched a dozen other movies or shows to understand what's happening. In fact, it feels more like a Phase 1 Marvel film, where the focus is on telling one story, beginning, middle, and end, rather than serving as a stepping stone in a larger, convoluted saga. That alone gives the film a degree of freshness in today's interconnected, often overwhelming MCU landscape. The movie is peppered with Easter eggs and references that longtime comic readers will appreciate. However, while these nods are fun, they also highlight a bigger problem: the lack of real payoff. Several characters and events are mentioned by name, which creates anticipation, but those moments rarely amount to more than simple name drops. A cameo or brief appearance would have gone a long way to make those moments feel earned and exciting. Fantastic Four: First Steps had all the right ingredients, iconic characters, cosmic stakes, and a rich legacy, but it plays things far too safe. The plot feels like it was written by checking boxes from a screenwriting template, leaving little room for genuine character growth or emotional depth. While it's not without merit, particularly its standalone structure and promising opening, the film ends up feeling hollow, like a beautiful frame without the artwork inside. For fans of the Fantastic Four, this isn't the disaster of previous reboots, but it's still not the triumphant return we've been hoping for.